Hello and welcome to day 9 of the Building Your Brand Challenge. And today we're actually going to get started. So grab your vision board, grab your mood board, grab your who, your what and your how brand anatomy document. And today's exercise is you're actually going to write 3 briefs. The first brief is going to be to your designer or to your freelancer to create your logo. We always start with the logo. The logo sits at the top of the pyramid. It is the pinnacle. It is the top of the coat hanger that everything else hangs off. The second brief that you're going to write is to actually get some content written up. And the third brief that you're going to write is to actually find some images or to have some images professionally taken by a photographer. Now, the reason we start with the logo, as I mentioned, is that it actually underpins everything. Everything falls from the logo. So once you've actually created the brand's anatomy, you know who it is, you know what it stands for, you have a vision or a mood board that sits together with that. The next process within the flow is to look at the logo. Now, if you do nothing else other than create a logo, that's okay, because the logo is what's going to underpin the remainder of the brand moving forward. What you don't want to do specifically is to muck up this order 1, 2, and 3 that I've just outlined. You don't want to rush ahead and create your website first. You don't want to rush ahead and create social media content. You don't want to rush ahead and design digital ads. You do not want to go ahead and create some packaging or go and design some car signage. And you absolutely do not want to go ahead and start posting stuff left, right, and center on social media. What you do want to do is sit down and write the briefs. Now, 2 days ago, I actually gave you a link on a cheat sheet on how to brief your designer to create a killer logo, and that would have given you some golden rules to follow. So with this exercise, I want you to spend about 20 to 30 minutes per brief. Now, the second and third brief should actually become a little bit quicker for you to do once you've got the framework of the first one. For all 3 briefs, the first one being to a designer or a graphic designer, the second one being to a copywriter, and the third one potentially being either to a designer that will help you find the imagery or to a photographer. In all 3 briefs, you want to use your mood board and your vision board as a reference, and you also want to use the what, the who, the how brand anatomy document also. The reason that we did those early on in the piece is because when it came to this exercise about writing the brief to your designer or to your copywriter or to your photographer, they would have naturally asked these questions anyway. They would have said, okay, tell me a little bit about the brand. Tell me, how do you communicate this to your clients? Tell me, did you have an idea in mind of how it looked or what colors you want to use or the kind of logo that you would like to represent your business or your personal brand? So all of those questions that they're going to ask you, guess what? You're prepared and you already have answered. Now, if when you're doing this exercise and you're writing the brief and you're struggling to come up with what it is that you want to tell the designer or what you want to tell the copywriter or what you want to tell the photographer, go back to the vision board or the mood board, because there lies clues on exactly those answers. And the same applies to when it comes to answering the questions, particularly for the copywriter, on how do you tell clients about your product or service? What makes your product or service better or worse or different? You would have answered those in the original brand anatomy document. So once you've done this exercise and you've written the 3 briefs, the next logical step would be to find a graphic designer or to find a freelancer, find a copywriter and to find a photographer to actually execute the briefs for you. Now, I mentioned a couple of days ago that to save money, there's potentially a bit of groundwork that you can possibly do to save some money. Obviously, when it comes to creating the logo, you may have a very definitive idea of what you want. You may actually sketch it to save some money. You may get a graphic designer or a freelancer to put it together professionally for you, polish it up so that you're ready to go. That may be the same with copywriting. You may choose to write down some notes yourself to give it a go and just give it to the copywriter to do some editing and some wordsmithing. And the same would go for the photographer. You may have taken some photographs yourself that you want to use to show the photographer exactly how you want it to be staged, exactly the kind of lighting and the kind of composition that you actually want, and the kind of feel or effect that you're actually after. Now, these 3 briefs are really integral, because once you've created these 3 briefs, even if you don't use brief 2 and brief 3, you only use the logo brief, you can actually do this yourself. Let it sit for 24 to 48 hours, come back and do the work yourself. Now, moving forward, once you've actually done that, everything starts to fall into place here. And what we will do tomorrow is that we'll start talking a little bit more about putting together elements to create your marketing mix and ways that you can differentiate your brand, all the while your logo is being designed in the background and your copywriter is starting to put together some content for you, and you're searching for images, or you've commissioned a photographer to take some for you. While that's rolling forward, you're then going to be doing other work. The reason we do that is we're starting to create a little bit of a symphony of activity that's perfectly orchestrated for your brand, so that you all arrive at the same point at the same time. Again, the reason we start with the logo is the head of the brand. It is the substance. It is the first cue, the first visual cue, the first sighting, almost the director of first impressions that people are going to get of your brand. It's one of the first things that they experience. So if you invest in nothing else, at the very least, put the most amount of effort and the most amount of money that you can possibly afford into creating that logo immediately after you've done your vision and your mood board and your who, your what, and your how's brand anatomy. Of course, we'd love to see your responses. Feel free to comment up below. Make sure that you turn notifications on for this profile so that you can get notified as soon as these videos are on. And of course, feel free to share the love. If you know that there's someone that would benefit from taking part in the building your brand over the 20-day challenge, then please feel free to share this profile with them.